the first thing people will notice is just a calm that comes in your head, and you feel just a calming of stress and just a general quieting of your mind. Then you'll actually feel that felt sense move through your body, and it does go to your heart, and you literally will feel like a warmth in your heart. And that relaxation will start to then extend into your body and start to relieve tension that way.
If you want to live like you matter, ditch the pills, look great, and feel freaking amazing, you're in the right place. I'm Dr. Wendy Trudeau.
And I'm Dr. Ed Levitan. Welcome to the Feel Freaking Amazing podcast,
where we empower you to live a vibrant and healthy life by optimizing your structural, chemical, emotional, social, and spiritual lives.
Hold on to your hats.
Hello and welcome to the Feel Freaking Amazing podcast. I'm Wendy Trudeau and Ed Levitan is with us today. And today we have Stephanie Wang, who I'm really excited to interview. She is the founder and CEO of Empathogenics, a company dedicated to making a sacred plant called kanna accessible for daily wellness. And we're going to discuss all its benefits today. She is pioneering the empathogen category in wellness, offering people a natural, clinically proven way to regulate their nervous systems and reduce stress. So Stephanie, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me on the show. So nice to meet you both.
You too.
Yeah, and I'm super excited because I attended the psychedelic conference in Denver, and kanna seems it's a legal way that it's a plant and it's not psychedelic, but it has such amazing benefits. So
let's back up 10,000 steps because Ed's aware of kanna, you are aware of kanna, I am a novice. So pretend you're talking to me, the novice, and all the listeners. What is kanna?
Absolutely. So kanna is a beautiful little succulent plant that grows close to the ground that's native to South Africa and Namibia. And it is a plant that is a natural serotonin reuptake inhibitor and a serotonin. Right. So this is where its properties of lifting mood and relieving stress, all of that comes in. And there's been a long, long history of human use because the indigenous people of Southern Africa, the Khoi and the Bushmen, this plant has been so much part of their culture, not just medicinal culture, but also social culture. And it was also traded as well. And it's been such a big part of their life. So there's a long, long history of safe human use as well. And it's a fascinating plant. What's also really interesting is that it doesn't just act on the serotonergic system in our bodies. It also inhibits an enzyme called PDE4. It also activates receptors for GABA, for opioids, for cholecystokinin, for melatonin, just to name a few, because it has so many active alkaloids that's part of this plant. So it's a really, really unique plant in that way, because the way and how it works in your body is not targeting a single receptor the way, let's say, a chemical SSRI would, like an antidepressant would. So it doesn't have a lot of the negative side effects, it doesn't have any of the negative side effects that taking an antidepressant would have, and has a lot of other benefits as well. So for example, besides the heart opening aspect, it also is a cognitive answer. So helping you with problem solving, memory, and all of this actually is documented in scientific studies. It's just that most people have not heard of this plant, even though there's been quite a number of years of research that's been done on it. And then another aspect, besides the nootropic aspect, helping you with focus and memory and problem solving, it is also very helpful besides calming stress. It is also helpful for energy as well. Because it's a PDE4 inhibitor, it actually helps the body resource more energy, but in a very grounded way. So there's no caffeine at all in it. But when your body's able to, regulate the stress response and also resource your energy in your body better, you just generally have a much more sustained and grounded energy that you can actually resource from.
I have 8,000 questions, Stephanie.
Please, go ahead.
Okay. So my first question is, For the listeners who might not be as familiar with the terminology that you're using, when you say a heart opener, what should our listeners be hearing or understanding when you say that?
That's a really good question. But when I say heart opening, I mean that the way this plant works in our body and is felt in our bodies is that you are more emotional, become more emotionally available. That's one aspect. You have more empathy. It creates more empathy for yourself and for others. And so that's why, as a category, it is an empathogen. And that's what it means. Heart opening, meaning you're better able to connect with somebody else, with yourself, being able to access maybe a fuller range of your own emotions and being able to process them, being able to better connect with another person, maybe. Especially for people maybe who are much more introverted or have a lot of social anxiety. This is also a great ally to help people in those social situations.
Now I have 10,000 more questions. Okay. You can jump in
No,
anytime.
you go.
Jump in.
I have thoughts, but
Okay.
you go.
Is it and what are if someone's taken kanna, what might they experience? Like in their felt
In their
sense
body.
of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that there's a distinction between ceremonial dose and what Stephanie is talking about, which is a daily dose potentially. And maybe you can talk about that. And
Yeah, it's both of your questions. So, you're absolutely right. There is a difference between a daily dose and a ceremonial dose. So you can take kanna in ceremony. So what is a ceremonial dose? That is a tricky question because you can go online and it'll say, oh, anything, 300, 500 milligrams. It really depends on the kanna that you are working with. Some kannas have a higher potency because they have a higher alkaloid content and some don't. Then you have to distinguish between extracts and the actual herb. But before, I don't want to get into the weeds of that, but just to say that ceremonial dose essentially is a much higher dose, maybe three, four times. And then you have a daily dose, which again, for example, with Arcana, I would say like a 30 milligrams as a daily dose. And the felt sense in the body is really beautiful. So the first thing people will notice is just a calm that comes. I like to describe it. It first comes kind of in your head, and you feel just a calming of stress and just a general quieting of your mind. Then you'll actually feel that felt sense move through your body, and it does go to your heart, and you literally will feel like a warmth in your heart. And that relaxation will start to then extend into your body and start to relieve tension that way. And so I would say the first thing is just a sense of calm. And then a little bit later, a mood lift, and I would say a very calm euphoria. And I want to really be careful what I say here. It does not get you high at all. And, it's another reason why it's legal in pretty much everywhere, except interestingly in Louisiana. But that's where some other plants like Damiana and Blue Lotus are also prohibited. But in general, it's a very, very subtle effect. It's a sober effect. It does not incapacitate you. It's not intoxicating in any way. It just helps you feel more you and more present, if that makes sense.
So there's no caffeine and there's no intoxication effect, but you make you more you. And how long does that last when you take it?
Well, it depends on the form you take it in. So, for example, we have chews and tincture. The chew, because it is solid, there is mass. So it will last longer. So, I mean, it really depends. For me, for most people, I would say could last 3 hours to 6 hours, depending. So it depends. The tincture or anything that is more sublingual will have a faster peak effect, but it won't last as long. It's just the format is different. Yeah, just as an
So like I think about it when I used to do marijuana as a prescriber, and we would talk about if you're doing a tincture, if you're doing a vape, it's a 2 hour experience. If you're doing a tincture, it's 4. And if you're doing an edible, it's 8. So to be mindful about what you're going to get based on the route of administration. So kanna also sounds like it does that,
yes.
that similar, it's longer because it's got to go through the gut.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great analogy. But then again, if you have the chew and you suck on it and you just absorbing everything through your mucosal membrane directly, you're also going to feel it stronger. So, it's learning a little bit of how you best, what the best way that works for you. And of course, every single body is different. So there will be variations in how people, the dosage that is appropriate for someone versus another person, right? So there's a lot of factors that go into this.
Does it help with PMS? Asking for a friend, because I don't menstruate any longer, but
Yeah, that's another interesting question. Because kanna is anti-inflammatory, it's the way it works. It's super anti-inflammatory, and because it helps to calm stress and anxiety. So even, how should I say this? Because it helps to lower inflammation, it does help a bit. It's not specifically for, let's say, menstrual cramps or period pain, but because it's anti-inflammatory and because it ameliorates a lot of the emotional anxiety that sometimes comes up when you are premenstrual, it does support that way, if that makes sense.
okay. You said it has like a 3 to 6 hour impact, but then when it wears off, there's no crash.
No, there isn't. Again, because it is adaptogenic, because it works on so many neuroreceptors and it's not targeting a single neuroreceptor. So there is not any crash. What I like to do if I'm going out with friends later, I will bring the tincture with me because I don't drink alcohol. So I'll just use it as I can dose it directly under my tongue or I'll put it in a mocktail. And then the whole sort of that kanna effect gets reactivated again, you can say. So that's if I have like a whole night and then, I want to be dancing and going out. It's really helpful that way. For me, I'm pretty sensitive. So for me, half a chew already like lasts all day for me.
And when people, I'll let you talk in a minute, and I promise, when people are dosing this, is it appropriate or okay to do every day, or do you need to take a break because the receptors get saturated?
That's also extremely good question. We like to think of prana as a daily supplement. As long as you're not taking a massive, massive ceremonial or heroic dose every day, it is really well suited for mental emotional support that way. It's actually how the indigenous also recommend that it be taken. They also used to take it ceremonially, it helps them connect to their ancestors. But I think the greatest benefit that can be derived from this plant is taking it daily. And this is the reason why. It's non-addictive, it's actually adaptogenic, and it's neuroprotective. So there's been a lot of chatter online or in the ether about, they like to compare it with other substances, which I don't know if I should mention it here, like things like MDMA, but it's so, so different. MDMA has amphetamines. It can be addictive. You cannot take it every day because it will damage your nervous system. Kanna is completely the opposite. And so it is totally suitable for daily consumption. Now, it doesn't mean you have to, but I will say this, that kanna is also very fast acting, and most people will feel it, the first time, second time they take it. For some people, it will take them a little longer because there's a priming effect that happens in their bodies where they're getting used to this plant. So we always recommend to take it continuously for 30 days straight before taking a break if you want to, because you will see the cumulative benefits. There's also no tolerance buildup. So it's not like, oh, if you take more, you're going to suddenly like need more and more. In fact, it's very much the opposite effect. The more you take it, the more regulated your nervous system becomes, the less you will need to feel the same effect. So I will share this too. When I first researched kanna, and I was, of course, trying to into, all kinds of our own products when we're in product development, I didn't at that time take it 30 days continuously. But when I actually did, I noticed a huge difference because with that, there is a cumulative effect. Like I said, it really helps to regulate the nervous system. For me, I just noticed I became a lot more patient. I was much less triggered, and it was beautiful. So to feel the full benefits, we still always recommend taking it for 30 days, even if you feel it in the very beginning.
And it sounds like your dosing is 30 milligrams. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, it was initially, but that's changed because, as I mentioned, there's a reverse tolerance effect, and now I only need like 15, and I'm perfectly happy. So it's another thing that is really interesting is it doesn't make you dependent on it, and it actually has that reverse effect.
So when you talk about, like, let's say somebody, you were talking about somebody with social anxiety, things like that before, and so it sounds like if they're on con that they'll do better. Are they once they get, like, let's say they do the 30 days or the 3 months or whatever it is there, and they come off it, so there's no dependence, but do they revert back to exactly where they were, or is there actually some kind of fundamental change?
That's a really good question. Um, Eventually, they may, but again, if someone, let's say, has been on, has been taking kanna and has been socializing and has been opening up, I cannot predict if that person with that experience now has actually created behavioral patterns that are different from before. So that is a bigger question. Someone should definitely research that. From what I've seen, after a while, it doesn't, how should I say, they do revert back to their general way of being socially. But like I said, taking it long term does have certain benefits that can fundamentally shift how you are. But again, there's no concrete scientific research that can back that up. So it depends. Like, I'll give you my example personally, right? So I was taking, and I have been taking kanna for, consistently for a number of years. Maybe I'll take a break a week or so, but then, I'm a very stressed out entrepreneur, so it really is a great support for me. And then, I'll notice when I don't take it, let's say I've taken it now for like a year, 2 years, and then I don't take it, I still feel the behavioral shifts, meaning like I am more patient. And by the way, by nature, I'm not a patient person. So I would say basic level or the base level of how I am, like getting triggered or being impatient, has definitely been higher, meaning I just don't get triggered as much. I'm not as impatient. Now, do I notice when I start taking kanna again that I become more patient? Yes. Or I become more, you know what I'm saying? But there is, for me at least, and I'm the experiment, that I've noticed certain patterns have indeed shifted over the long term.
So I know with some different things that there's a blunting effect if you're on SSRIs or things like that. Is that the case with kanna also?
I'm so glad you asked that question because this is a huge difference between SSRIs and kanna. SSRIs really target only serotonin. As I mentioned before, kanna has 35 different alkaloids. I couldn't even name all the receptors. I just named a few that it works on. And so, no, it actually very much has the opposite effect. It makes you more present. It helps you feel even deeper. It's not surprising for certain people, and we've had, this kind of customer feedback where suddenly they feel really emotional and then they feel like crying. And then, oh, they feel, having gone through that, having really accessed those pent up emotions, they actually feel a lot better. So it helps us connect to our feelings and process them. It does not dull. And so, in that sense, it's completely different from SSRIs. So it does not have that dulling effect.
Are there any medications that would prevent people from responding the way you would expect?
Yes, absolutely. So, for example, if you have been on some kind of amphetamine salt, let's say Adderall, for example, so your nervous system is already, you know, it needs to be reset to fully feel the effects of kanna. So, in the beginning, someone who has taken Adderall, for example, in the past, might need a higher dose to begin with, and then they can come back to a regular dose because the neuroreceptors just need to be reset. In terms of contraindications, and this is important. For example, if someone is already on a benzodiazepine or an SSRI, SNRI, NDRIs, be very careful because a lot of these pharmaceuticals already elevate your level of serotonin, and kanna does that also. So you don't want to end up having too elevated a level of serotonin, because it could end up being serotonin syndrome, which can be harmful. So we always say to people, that's how it's contraindicated. Do not take them together. However, I will also say that there are naturopaths out there, psychedelic therapists, functional medicine doctors who are helping people titrate off of SSRIs using kanna. So again, always talk to a qualified healthcare provider, a professional. And that's, of course, we're not doctors. We can't talk about that there, but there are definitely people who are, how should I say, going to these physicians to help them actually taper off of SSRIs and to transition to other plant medicines that don't have the negative side effects.
I have a clarifying question. So when you say don't take it together, does that mean on Wednesday morning, don't take your SSRI and your kanna? Or does it mean Wednesday morning you could take the kanna and then 12 hours later you could take your SSRI? Or is it really don't take kanna at any point while you're on it, unless you're in the process of weaning and working with a doctor?
It's the latter, because as we know, when someone has been taking SSRIs, especially if been taking SSRIs for a long period of time, to titrate, it's definitely not advisable to quit cold turkey and just to stop and there's going to be a lot of complications when that happens and can be very harmful. So, that's why, we always say don't take it in conjunction if you're taking it long-term or short-term, because in order to really regulate your serotonin levels, you need to do it gradually, and you need medical supervision.
Yeah, and I'll say, just there's definitely a lot of substances, even like methylene blue, that you have to worry about serotonin syndrome. The only real concern with serotonin syndrome is if you're new to SSRIs, if you've been on SSRIs and been stable, your serotonin is actually depleted a lot of times, and the chance of serotonin syndrome is very, very low. Like,
To know.
I don't worry about. We inform people, but the chance of it is almost non-existent. It's just when people are just getting on or just new to SSRIs or any other substances.
Is there anything we haven't asked you that we should ask you, or that you want to make sure we
Let
cover?
me ask a question. Obviously, you have a company, and obviously you're looking at quality. When our listeners look for quality, look at kanna, is there anything that they need to be looking for that tells them whether the product that they're looking at is either higher quality or lower quality, or is there any kind of red flags, let's say, that this is not a high quality product that they shouldn't touch?
So I would say, first of all, ask for COAs, certificate of analysis, excuse me. And from a consumer product safety point of view, that's super important. Then you can see, okay, what's the level of microbials, heavy metals? That's one thing. And then I would just ask about, whether that particular brand can specify like the level of alkaloids, what's the percentage of mesembrine, more specific questions like that. But before you even do that, I would just, first of all, be very careful to identify whether you're buying plant or extract, because that's a huge difference, because the extract will have a much higher concentration. There are a lot of sellers of, let's say, the plant material that they're not actually selling kanna. And I don't know, I think that asking for all those certifications, checking if they're producing it themselves, and if they have, like, are they GMP, CGMP certified? I mean, that all is very helpful. What else? ask them where they source it from.
Yeah. Is there organic, non-organic, or is that not really a thing in the market?
Not really a thing because most of the farms, and literally, I don't know any farm that, that grows kanna that actually does the organic certification. They will say and stand behind, like, we don't use pesticides, herbicides, and any growth enhancers. But again, this is South Africa, and it's a different, it's slightly different. And eventually, I hope that that can be implemented. There are right now initiatives in South Africa where people are coming together because they realize there are people who say something is con and it's not. So to have more transparency and to also have more quality assurance, there is a movement of, coming together and, creating an organization or a certification process. This is still in process, so it's not happened yet. So we'll see.
What products do you offer? You were saying you have a range. What do you offer?
So we have two products at the moment. That product line will be expanding. So we have our Kanna Daily Chews, which is a beautiful foundational kind of daily supplement. We always say to take. It lasts longer, and it also has all these amazing plants synergistically working together with kanna, like acmella, which is really antimicrobial, snow lotus, which is also very anti-inflammatory and helps with circulation and helps maintain homeostasis, lavender, and some other plants. And then we have the tincture, which are drops, and that has a slightly different formulation and taste. So we like to say, hey, you can take both as a daily supplement, but the tincture is really great for, let's say, if you want to go out at night and you don't want to drink alcohol and you'd rather have something that still kind of changes your state, eases your any kind of social tension, takes the edge off, but you won't have a hangover with. So then that's the tincture. And a tincture is a great boost because it has that peak effect quickly. So it's great to use, I would say, in a specific occasion. So let's say right before you meditate, before you do yoga to help you ground and center. It's great for, let's say, if you're having a date night with your partner because of its heart-opening ability. And again, it's, I would say, more targeted for, occasional, for use in particular occasions. But again, it's totally up to the person and how they like to work with the two different formats.
Do you take it once a day for the chews?
I do, yes.
Wow.
I have a politically incorrect question. We can cut this out if this is not a correct question. But the there, as you said, this is viewed by many indigenous people as a sacred medicine. And in my kind of diving into psychedelic medicine, one of the things that has been challenged is, I'm going to say, the bastardization of sacred medicine. And that it's used like cannabis right now has really been overused and not used to be used ceremonially, and so is tobacco, and so is so many other things. How what are your thoughts about that? And putting it out to the rest of the world, which sounds like it's amazing, do bastardize the uh, plant?
So first, let me address reciprocity because that's, something we really believe in. Right now, where the supplier where we get our kanna, they do a direct profit share with the indigenous. So there is that program in place. And on the front end, we also have a relationship with local Khoi and Bushman leaders to actually give back. So on that front, for example, we champion certain cultural preservation projects like the Aboriginal Walkers. We also donate kanna plant to them. And this is why, as well, I was actually in South Africa and Namibia last year, and just because I really wanted to do a deep dive and I wanted to meet with any elders or any Indigenous leaders who would want to connect with me, and I learned a great deal. And um, kanna as a plant, even though it's the traditional stewards have been the Khoi and the Bushmen, over the many years of colonialism, apartheid, their societies are so marginalized, they've been displaced from their lands. So a lot of this traditional knowledge has been lost, and really only very few of the elders and medicine people still keep this knowledge. And so the younger people, most people have forgotten about this plant. And what's been interesting is that during this trip, because we, everywhere we go, we're like sharing also, what we're doing. And it's been interesting. It's actually helped to galvanize an interest, sort of a renewed interest by the Indigenous in this plant. Not just because, oh, yes, you can make money from it, but wait a minute, this is part of our heritage that we should feel really proud of. So again, I don't want to overstate this, but that we are doing as much as we can step by step, because I was there doing direct research because I wanted to talk to the activists as well. As you know, with a lot of organizations, especially charitable organizations, um, there are ones that are corrupt, there are ones that are not so corrupt, and it's really hard to tell the difference unless you really get to know those organizations. And what I have found you know is that I connected with people who are actually doing on the ground projects where we knew exactly what they were doing, if we were giving them some kanna, if we were donating, what exactly they would be doing. So that's kind of our way of supporting. And I'm still learning because I have to figure out, we're still trying to figure out what is the most sustainable way to reciprocate and also help to, I guess, spread this, traditional knowledge some more. So, recently when I went to South Africa, we also put together a little video just to educate on kanna, because I interviewed a lot of Indigenous leaders to hear from them, the traditional use of this plant. And, I gave this video to them. I'm like, hey, please. And they're like, can we please share this with our communities? I said, absolutely. So they've actually been using this video to re-educate and get their communities interested in this plant and get to know this plant again. So it's been a very interesting and, in a way, it's a discovery process, but also a healing process as well. And again, I don't want to overstate this. We're just taking this a step at a time. But this is something I am very sensitive to. But in terms of traditional bastardization, there are sadly so few people who still hold this wisdom that we're trying to see how we can preserve that. So, and part of it is actually getting the medicine and getting people more familiar with this plant.
Yep, it's awesome.
That's a really, really beautiful thing, Stephanie, what you're doing.
I mean, and we're trying to do what's right. I mean, the last thing I think I have to be very careful of, and I actually had this a long discussion with some of the leaders. Sometimes people go in with a lot of good intentions, and you don't want to create more of a mess with those good intentions. And it's so much about having that dialogue, always learning and speaking with and hearing from the local people what makes the most sense, so that this becomes a partnership and not a charity, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. Where can people find out more about you?
Yeah, so you can come visit our site. It's ohmyka.com, ohmy.com, or find us on social media. It's at Ka Empathogenics. And we're on, you know, um, Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on TikTok as well. And yeah, and we would love to hear from you. And we're also doing, I don't know if you wanted to share the promo code with your
Sure.
audience as well. So yeah, so we want to share a 15% off first order promo code Feel Amazing, all caps, Feel Amazing, with all of your people.
We'll put that in the show notes so that people can see it.
Yeah, so we're just excited to hear from you.
It's amazing. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
So thank you for the promo code. We'll make sure these all get into the show notes. Thank you for being here with us for the Feel Freaking Amazing podcast. And for the listeners, thanks for listening. So thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you guys for having me on here and just sharing the beautiful knowledge about this plant, which is really amazing.
You're doing good work. So thank you.
Inspire and empower someone else by leaving a 5-star review.
so they can transform their lives too.